wasn't up there because or else I would have been hearing the translation. So it was okay that I was up there. But here, oh, I keep hearing you, and I was like, okay. Well, my ear goes this way, and I'm like, okay, I'm paying
How's it going, team?
Well, it was good till about 10 minutes ago, and the live stream software just froze. The cameras went out, the audio was still working. So when they took a break, thank God they did. I need to establish it with them. I'm like, hey, can we take a break sometime? Because we had to restart the routine. So, but everything's great. We had a card.
Yeah, that was
Somehow there's no way to
You have to kill the stream.
right.
Well,
I
with
know,
Home
right?
Studio, you can restart the app because it's a hub. People go on eBay and people are selling it.
No, and you were, how loud was that?
Good to see you, man.
Jeremy,
Yes, ma'am.
we're gonna go on strike until we get the sound booth.
Well, this is time, but we're
I just looked it up so I can't worry about it.
Right, for the next one.
Just for
I should. Thank you. Look at it and just.
talk about it at all at the beginning, or how do we want to do this? I do know we do have public comments for this item. So what we'll do is you can make any kind of general announcement if you'd like, or just let me do that, and then we'll do the public comments, and then we'll open it up to the board to discuss.
With the board's direction, I think we have moved forward originally back around December and January on a letter. And I think in the letter, a couple key points to come out is, one is we believe in parent choice, and that came through in the letter. The second thing that we talked about is that we believe in local control. And where possible, we, as a district, we believe that choice is best made in our local community based on input from those closest to us. That's our families, community members. And so that theme has been something that we've continued to do. We have presented these letters a variety of different ways, including Josh Newman. I just met with him on Friday to share our belief that parents should be making those decisions for their own child and what they believe is best. We believe in local control. And one other new aspect that I talked about is that in the midst of the last 2 years, there's been a large focus on COVID-19 and the impacts of COVID-19, and for good reasons. It was, in some cases, a matter of life and death for some, and it was important that we address this. There were political changes that were occurring on a weekly basis that required responses. Things that we got from Cal OSHA that we were supposed to implement 3 weeks later, and with new data systems, with new processes and procedures. And probably like many people on Friday during the pandemic, I would watch the news and be surprised, like many people, what's the new thing that we need to do. And through that time, we had made those necessary adjustments. But one of the things I shared with Josh Newman is that there are some needs now that go beyond specific COVID, that go beyond some of the bills like vaccination that are also pressing in this educational space. So I talked about social emotional as an example, about depression in our district is up about 1.5 times pre-pandemic. We talked about this need that literacy, there is learning loss. And one of the things I talked about earlier was this idea that while in general our kids in the upper grades did fine, I mean, they had experience with technology and they had experience, so they were able to do some of those tasks remotely. But 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds on Zoom is less than ideal. And as a result of that, we've seen our early literacy be an area of need. We talked about that the state, and I'm grateful, we are going to be doing full day TK at all our schools, but that's in itself also an incredible lift as we move forward from new facilities to new curriculum and new training and some of the adjustments that need to be made. So we have a lot of things going on that are very important. And there needs to be time for us to focus on those important issues. And so while there are other arguments that have been made by others, to me, one of the things I wanted him to know was that there needs to be a focus right now on some of the pressing issues. And so the one statistic that I mentioned is we talk about literacy as an incredible important thing. And so one of those things about literacy, 2/3 of students that don't read at grade level will end up either in prison or on welfare. Here's another interesting piece. Between the best educated and the least educated, there is a 17-year lifespan difference. There is, among those that are illiterate, higher chances of dementia, higher chances of diabetes, And so as an educator, and that's the most important piece, is why I got into this, literacy is one of my key lifts. And so what I said to him was that right now we need to be focusing on some of the most important things. And one of them is literacy, one of them is social emotional, as well as some of the state initiatives. So as we look at why should we move forward or not move forward, I don't want to lose the fact that in the midst of COVID-19, we have some really important issues. And I need the board, I need our teachers, I need our principals focusing on some of the things that, why we got into education. And one of them is being literacy. And so as we move these bills one after another, it actually keeps our focus away from some of the things that a school district needs to accomplish. So I shared some of those things with him. We have put the letter on portals, reiterating the things that you told me to, that was important to you. And those things being choice, local control, and we have shared that. So we've done a lot in this area and a lot of advocacy in this area and a lot of work around this area. And this has not been a superficial area that we've touched on and gone away. So just to keep that in mind as we move forward, there has been a lot of focus in this area and on these types of bills.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do systematically tonight is we've got public speakers. So we'll have public speakers, 3 minutes per speaker. I know that we usually allow 20 minutes per subject, and I think we've got 7 here, so I think we could probably do all 3 without a problem. And then after that, then we'll open up our board to having a discussion about the 2 bills, 866 and SB 871. Okay, all right. So we'll start with Scott Townley. Always first. Well, you got your paper in first, sir. Don't be such an overachiever.
I know, I shouldn't be. Bear with me, I'm blind. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Pleka, President Berryman, the entire school board, and all the visitors tonight. I've been here a few times before. My name is Scott Townley. My wife and I are grandparents of students here in the Fullerton School District. Both of our grown children attended this school district. They went to Golden Hill, Nicholas, and finished up at Fullerton High School. They loved their times attending schools here in your district. They received a great education. They both went on to receive bachelor's degrees at Chapman University and Cal State Fullerton in marketing, film, television, and cinematography, respectively. First, my wife and I, Julie and I, would like to thank you for putting the Senate bills on your agenda tonight. It is rewarding to us to have listened the last few times we have spoken, and you guys have acted on it and put it on your agenda tonight. It shows that you as a school board really care about the children here. Senate Bill 866 authorizes a 12-year-old, let me say that again, a 12-year-old child to consent to a vaccine. As I stated before, a child of 12 years old doesn't have the developing intellectually they do, nor should they be placed in this position to consent to any vaccine without their parents knowing anything about it or giving their say-so. The parents and grandparents of these children are there to guide, nurture, and raise their children the best way they can while protecting them along the way. This is a radically irresponsible bill that has no place in American society. What our state legislatures are doing is basically saying it's okay for them to run our families and raise our kids and make decisions for our families. Well, this is just wrong on many levels. I strongly oppose this bill and ask you to join me in this opposition. So we are asking, Julie and I, if the Fullerton School Board would please band together and write a unified resolution opposing this bill before the state legislature. The other Senate bill, 871, adds COVID-19 vaccines to the list of the vaccines the kids must have to attend schools. The COVID-19 vaccine has not been completely proven as to its long-term side effects. This is an irresponsible and reckless attempt by our government to force a vaccine that has not been proven and not been studied long enough. I have a close friend that has lost not one, but two close friends of theirs to the vaccine, not the virus. Now their families are without their loved ones. This is wrong. How can we rightfully, how is this right to subject our children to this? It isn't right. Once again, I'm asking you to write a unified resolution against Bill 871 also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Julie Stockstill?
Good evening, Dr. Plegka, President Berryman, board members, and community. Again, I appreciate so much the opportunity to speak and for your vote to put this on the agenda to speak about these concerning bills. As a parent, I have two boys at Golden Hill, 1st grade and 5th grade. They love school. These bills have the power to completely shift the trajectory of our family dynamics. I don't want to speak too much about myself personally because it really is on my heart to speak for the many, many people that are not here to speak. I know there's many people here tonight to speak, but in my small community circle, I have been in touch with 180 families in the Fullerton School District that are completely flabbergasted, frustrated, and honestly fearful of these bills passing. They both completely disregard parental rights, not to mention threaten the right to a public or private education. And a right with coercion is really not a right. I ask you, as our entrusted school board, to fight for our children's right to an in-person public education, no matter our personal choices and, quite frankly, our private medical choices that we make for our children with our doctors. I recently asked my 1st grader, if he would want to go back to homeschool, because I'm trying to plant the seed just in case these do pass, because I don't really want to break his heart about going to school. And he said, Mom, because we homeschooled last year in 2020. And he's like, Mom, I don't want to do that. I like school and I really want to be with my friends. And I said, I know, but I miss you. And this way we could be together 3 days a week and you could do maybe a co-op a couple of days a week. He doesn't want that. So really, this would definitely shift our entire family dynamic. And I just want to do what's best for my kids. And we love this district. I grew up in this district, Golden Hill, Nicholas, and Fullerton High School myself. There's so many families that feel like I feel. And I'm so thankful that you are willing to listen to our many concerns. And I would really like to see a formal resolution made, and I so appreciate what you just said, Dr. Plegka. And the biggest thing that I heard from what you spoke about earlier is the fact that this vaccine bill could, in fact, prevent many children from continuing the best education that they could have. And when you talk about literacy, that's huge. So let's think about that. Trying to keep as many of our FSD kids in school as we can. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Amy Freeze.
Good evening, Dr. Pletka, Board President Berryman, board members, cabinet, teachers, staff, parents, grandparents, community. Dr. Pletka, I first want to say thank you for sharing those words with us. Thank you for meeting with Senator Newman. Recently, when I met with one of our district reps who assists Senator Newman, we talked about some of those problems. You did so in such an incredible way, and you shared that with us, and that meant a lot, that you were so transparent with us and also with the senator. So I want to say thank you. And there's so much. I truly believe we got to fight these bills, and I would hope that our representatives can help us turn it around so we can work on the things that really matter and get to work with these kids for what they have lost. So thank you for that. So I want to say thank you so much for adding this to the agenda. We really appreciate it as parents. And board, we're looking forward to what you're going to share with us tonight, what you support, what you don't support, and the whys. And at the December 2021 board meeting, we heard each of you speak and state how even though your opinions may differ from one another or your constituents, you represent the families of this community in your areas. And you sided with Parent Choice. And Dr. Pletka, you wrote your letter against the mandates, and we thank you so much again for that and uploading that to the portal. And now tonight, I greatly encourage and urge you to take a stand in your board discussion and declare that you not only side with Parent Choice, but you boldly stand for it. SB 871 and 866 go against our students, Parent Choice, employees in FSD who have children, and our community. These bills have no place in our district or in our state. And all children, right, we know this, they deserve an in-person education. If these bills pass, so many families will exit the district and this state. This will affect our kids in so many ways: district funding, schools, jobs, businesses, and the economy. If you believe FSD, right, cultivates diversity, equity, and inclusion, you will stand up, please, against these bills and do everything you can as a board and a district to stop them. How can we do this? A unified Fullerton School District Board resolution, we believe. This resolution can then be uploaded to the California Legislature portal and be sent and shared with our state representatives, governor, county, and city officials. Please be a leading district with other districts. I've sent you some resolution samples last week, and we ask that this FSD board resolution would be your decision and action today. This bill season ends next month in May. So we know that we're all tired, but this is the sprint over the next 2 months. And I know that there could be so many pressures, political even, upon you, but we just really ask for all of you to be in your bipartisan positions and do what is the right thing for our kids and our community in this state. Thank you.
Jennifer Gonzalez.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gonzalez, and I have a third grade student at Hermosa Drive Elementary. I'm here tonight to connect with you all, and thank you so much for your time. Regarding SB 871 and SB 866, as everyone has shared here, I'm also in opposition to these bills, and I am asking tonight that our board take an additional step in creating a unified resolution opposing them. I had the opportunity to travel for my job to Washington, D.C. Early last month. I was there representing my field, which is in the employee benefits and insurance space. I had the opportunity to speak directly with many members of Congress. When I was there, one of the most interesting, and I think just made me really stop and think, things that came about out of all of the conversations I had was how much they emphasized how important it was to hear directly from an expert in the field in which I work. They shared themselves, they are not experts in what they do. They're not experts in what their constituents do. It's up to their constituents to come out in areas where they are experts to help them make the right decisions. So you might ask yourselves, these bills don't directly impact us, or you might say to yourself, it's not up to us to take a stance, it's up to members of the community or parents or teachers to reach out directly to the politicians. But the reality is that these politicians depend on experts like yourselves. You guys are here to represent the children of our district, and anything that you say is taken very heavily upon them. And that is why it is so critically important that not only, yes, the letter was greatly appreciated, and I don't want to diminish the importance of that, but it's even more important that we take a step further now that these bills are being pushed through. And additionally, I would say, Dr. Pletka, I could not agree more. Literacy is so important. Again, in the healthcare field, we see it ourselves when the insurance carriers take a look to see where the demographics fall, where are the claims coming from. There's so much research put into this. And the fact that a person who lacks literacy and is not able to read a prescription or is not able to, follow up on a doctor's appointment, these things are critical later in life. And it may seem crazy to imagine that it can impact a person's lifespan or their quality of their life so much, but the reality is that it does. And my concern is that by not addressing these bills today, it's going to continue to be an issue further on, and it will only diminish our ability to focus on those important things. So I ask your partnership in this, and I, again, thank you for your support to this point and hope you help us to the finish line on these.
Neil Esposito? I know, I can't, never mind, you don't want no story. Esposito, yes, Neil.
Good evening, board members, President Berryman and Dr. Pletka. Why am I here? I'm here to advocate for parents' rights, the right to choose, a children's right to an education regardless of a vaccination status. There's just a couple of definitions. An emergency, a serious, urgent, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action. Masks are no longer required indoors or outdoors at school, meaning there is no urgent or dangerous situation requiring any immediate action. Another one, coercion, the practice of persuading someone against their free will to do something by using force, threats, or intimidation. These bills are coercive bills, forcing parents to make a choice between taking a vaccine that they don't want, or if they do, great, to attend in-person classes. We know the latest, documents that are being released about, natural immunity being just as effective, adverse reactions to the vaccine that are more severe in younger children. We know that these children do very well when they do get the virus, and the long-term side effects of these vaccines are still unknown. We, as parents, have the right to make these decisions for our children, and as said before by the other speakers, we do need a unified resolution from the board to back us parents that show that we need to make the choices for our children. So, one of the authors, Senator Pan, says, and I quote, "Teachers and parents are afraid of COVID that will be transmitted by unvaccinated students. Fact. Vaccinated people still get sick and spread COVID. Fact. All COVID vaccines do not cure COVID-19. Fact. There is no emergency anymore. If there was, we'd still be at home wearing masks and socially distancing. Bottom line, these bills eliminate parent choice, and parents who want to have their children vaccinated, it's their choice. They've already made that decision. Parents who don't want to vaccinate their children have also made that choice as well. The vaccine is available to anyone that wants it. If these bills do pass, we will pull our kids from the school, period. Thank you.
Alquiza?
Hi, me again. So I'm speaking on behalf of Darlene. She was trying to get here. Is that okay that I do that for her? Okay, thank you. Darlene, I know you have known from other board meetings, and She wants to say, thank you for the resolution you presented regarding concerns with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. I just came here from a board meeting with a community college district, and I believe their turnover and significant drop in enrollment is a result of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate they have implemented for all staff and students. There are over 100 school districts throughout California who are opposing SB 871, AB 1993, and SB 866. There are also formal letters signed by numerous superintendents from various districts, board of supervisors, and now various organizations, unions, and even Chamber of Commerce's are formally submitting their opposition to these bills. SB 871 will have a negative impact on enrollment. Yes, we have parents and possibly students who are immune compromised who must diligently protect, but as a school site council member, I can testify we also have immune compromised adults who are not vaccinating their children against COVID-19 as they wait for the long-term results. Who will pull their children if a COVID-19 vaccine mandate is implemented. The state should focus on bills that educate communities, work with districts to implement policies that have been working, funding permanent sinks rather than the costly temporary sinks that require maintenance, and address concerns around sick and truancy policies for children who are sick and or got exposed. SB 871 and SB 866 undermines women as mothers and minority groups by implying that they cannot be educated to make the right decisions for their children. And when my school's principal says the number one thing we need is funding for support staff, I believe a bill like SB 866 will add an extra burden and liability. If 12-year-olds cannot drive, the location where children can be vaccinated without parental knowledge and consent is at school. Mobile vaccine buses will be used on our campuses. My daughter has eczema and cannot use even over-the-counter lotion without my knowledge, consent, and a doctor-written consent form listing possible side effects and precautions. If a child cannot have lip balm, a cough drop, or Tylenol without written consent, it makes absolutely no sense for schools to administer a medical intervention without express consent. In Washington, D.C., a similar bill passed and an injunction was filed because if a child has severe reaction, a parent must file a claim within a set time period, and so parents must be aware and consent. The person behind me, yeah, okay, that's good.
Our last speaker is Ben Colson.
Good evening, President Berryman, Superintendent Pletka, Board of Trustees, friends, and community members. You'll all be glad to hear that I am the last speaker because I have, once again, not prepared any comments. I'm just going to go right from the heart here. We've already heard some discussion. First of all, let me go ahead and thank you again for the resolution that you've made responding to our request to request a letter of resolution against the gubernatorial mandate. I always knew that that mandate was just one step in our broader agenda that's been going on, well, for at least 20 years now. It's a much broader agenda. You might say COVID-19 was the nose under the camel's tent, but if you're anything like me, do a little bit of independent research and you'll know that the camel is in the tent up to his hump. And if we don't put our foot down now, it's not just going to be a COVID shot that's mandated. You read the text of the bill, it says any new vaccine or medical product that they want to implement just at the whim of the health supervisor or whichever office is responsible for that. So we're basically, if we let this thing through and it survives what I hope and pray are substantial legal and constitutional challenges and ultimately becomes written into the code of law, we're basically, our kids are now lifetime customers of any new experimental pharmaceutical product that comes along for any health emergency, whether it's locally declared or perhaps it'll be declared by the World Health Organization, United Nations. You know, they've got a global pandemic treaty that they're trying to push through now. which if that goes through and if it, again, survives constitutional challenges, will basically eliminate health sovereignty of anyone here in America, anyone across the world. So there's big things happening. I'm not going to sit here and argue the merits or lack of merits of these bills. I'll just go ahead and second what my colleagues have requested, that we request that you again sign or draft a resolution against the implementation of these measures. Ultimately, that might be a futile effort, since it's ultimately up to the voters to decide. But I believe Neil said it. If these things go through, it's a red line. My kids are out, and I'm not alone. There's plenty of us. The numbers are growing. I hate to see society divided the way it is. I would like to see some unity, but there's obviously a bifurcation here in civil society. There are two camps drawn. My side, we're not going back. We have crossed the Rubicon. I hate to say it, but I think the people that are behind these measures, these health measures, this government overreach into personal health freedom, I don't think they're going back either. So I guess that's all I have to say. I just thank you for your support, and urge you to continue to listen to us and draft this second resolution.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers this evening. We appreciate the fact that you feel comfortable enough to come up and share your opinions with us, so that we can be part of our discussion as we're going to go along. What I thought I would like to do is we haven't had a discussion item like this for a while, so structurally it's a discussion item, which means we're not going to vote on anything this evening. We don't have a full board here, which makes it hard to vote on something, so this is a discussion. At the end of our conversation, we can have a board member move to a next step of some sort, or leave it at that, or what have you. I want us all to agree on maybe a few just ground rules, so that we at least go into it knowing how we're going to do this. One is, should we put a time limit on this? We do have our next item, item 12, where we have several contracts and several items of business that we have to approve this evening. So I don't want us to be very tired so that we can't do that. So I want you guys to make sure that you're still okay to finish the rest of our agenda. So if we want to consider a time limit on this item, we can do that. We can set some of our own ground rules. This is our discussion item. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm just figuring this is what we get to do. How we are going to discuss this, if in fact we'll go in order, give everyone a couple of minutes to state something, to bring up something, and to ask for others' opinions. Again, this is the only time as a board we can have a discussion for anything that could be voted on. So as a group, we have never spoke of this. So this is all new to yeah. Oh, and aim on some things, but some things we may, feel different. I would ask that we are respectful to one another. Should I just hit it? Okay, I'll just won't move. Okay. If we can make sure that we treat each other with respect, because as you know, when you're out there talking to your friends, if something triggers you and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, that's a personal attack or what have you, I want our members to feel comfortable enough to talk to each other without feeling like we are judging one another and that we are disrespectful to each other. So I'm hoping that you guys all agree to these ground rules per se. If somebody wants to throw out a amount of time that we put to this evening, and then we can always revisit if we get to that timing and say, oh, we need a little bit more time, we can motion to approve more time. So I just want to go into this with some kind of structure as opposed to just going at it. The other thing I want to let the audience know is that we have had a time for you to speak, and that's probably it. So our discussion is gonna be our discussion. I hope that you guys all feel the respect as well, that if we say something that you don't agree with, that we don't hear any razzing from the audience. I would ask that you be respectful. I've been to a lot of meetings where people want to make sure that those that are up here having this discussion feel like they want to espouse their views. We understand where you guys are coming from, and so you've made it very clear. Now it's our turn to be able to have that discussion. So I would ask that you guys also be respectful, and that's what. And side note is that's something that we have been very fortunate to have, is that we have had these kinds of discussions where we may not agree, but we've been respectful, and I think you have been respectful to us, and we've been respectful to you, and I would hope that we could continue that. Anything else to add from my fellow board members on going in before we start our discussion on this item? Again, we're not policy experts, but it's a good chance to talk about just, where our thought process is. So I would say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, give me a number.
Well, we can always add, go ahead and say 15 minutes, and if we need more, we'll up it at that.
Okay.
Play it by ear.
All right. Okay. So 8:05. So we'll go for, you guys okay with that? 15 to start? And then at the end of that, I'll watch the clock, and then at the end of that, we'll decide if we're closer, if we need to extend time. Okay? All right? Okay. All right, with that said, I'm not going to be the dictator here. I'm going to ask if anyone wants to start the conversation, or if, Jani, you want to start it since...
Sure, I'm happy to start it.
Okay.
I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Bob, because I wasn't aware that you were seeing Josh Newman, and I think that was a great step for you to take, whether it was on your own or somebody gave you the idea, and the thoughts that you gave him and the concerns that you shared with him about the community, the board and the community. And I know that this is a real touchy situation, but I'm going to be able to tell you personally how I feel, and I think that's important for your board, my board, to know that. And one way of doing that is I'm going to share a letter that I wrote to the governor on this very issue, and it pretty much says how I have. And I have copies for everybody if they would like to take it home and maybe do it themselves. So this is to the Honorable Gavin Newsom, Governor. Dear Governor Newsom, on October 1st, 2021, you announced plans to add the COVID-19 vaccine to the list of vaccinations required to attend school in person and when vaccine receives full approval from the Food and Drug Administration. In response to this announcement, parents and community members addressed the Fullerton School District Board at several meetings and were overwhelmingly opposed to the mandate. Parents, including COVID-vaccinated and pro-vaccination parents, are uncomfortable subjecting their young children to this vaccination. Parents are strongly opposed to the mandate, and I believe it's important that you are aware our community's serious concerns about this issue. Personally, I oppose the mandates, and I respect the right of parents to choose the most suitable educational program for their children. I believe the vaccine mandate will result in substantial numbers of families choosing to leave traditional in-person schools. Please rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandates as a condition of in-person instruction in the K-12 schools. Thank you for all that you have done through this pandemic. Sincerely, Jani Meyer, Board Trustee of Fullerton School District. And I'm feeling, after I have done a lot of research with all the different things that have come out and the resolutions that have gone on, quite a lot of, the majority of the communities have done this resolution. I've always been against resolutions, and I think that the resolutions were done to commend things that are going on in the district, like Nurses Week, Administration Week, Red Ribbon Week. Those have always been my belief, that that's where we stick with resolutions. We don't get political with resolutions. This, to me, is political, but it's not. It's about the kids. It's not about the politics of who's doing this and who's not doing. It's trying to keep kids safe and keep kids in school. And on talking to a couple of our elected officials, one of our Congress members, they think it's important to get the message up to them personally. By a board like this, we command a lot of, I don't want to say authority, but we command a lot of attention when we speak out as a board or a board member, more so even than a general public. And so I think I'm ready to see us do something a little stronger than the letter, which was great. I think we need to move on to something that gives our message, if we believe that, a little bit of strength. Okay?
Thank you, Jenny. Either one of you guys want to go next? Sharon?
Yeah, I don't think that this resolution will get the result that people are asking for. SB 866 has been sent to the Judiciary Committee currently in the State Senate. I know that this bill has some co-sponsors in the State Assembly, but it's not clear to me that this bill is currently going to pass. So I think we might be jumping the gun. I think this could be something that we can address if the bill gets closer to signing. I appreciate Dr. Pletka talking to Senator Newman. I will be letting Senator Newman know as well how much opposition there is in our community. He's currently a co-sponsor. He can actually help keep it from passing out of his committee. I think that parents should also know that this is a more direct action in our representative democracy. We've sent a letter to the governor asking him not to sign it. Trustee Meyer also sent a letter. Maybe there's a cartoon that folks remember about how a bill becomes a law. This is still in the pretty early stages. SB 871 is still, hasn't been heard in the State Senate's Health Committee, State Senate's Education Committee, and in the State Senate's Judiciary Committee. The fact that both of these bills have been sent to Judiciary signals to me, I did work in the State Senate during my last semester of law school, that the state senators and other legislators are worried about whether these bills will even pass muster, that they may be subject to valid legal challenges. And that's why the Judiciary Committee is going to be evaluating both of these bills. There's an opportunity for community members to actually have statements read in at the Judiciary Committee. There are groups that are going to be for and against every single bill, and perhaps after the meeting, I'd be happy to discuss with some parents here the way to stop a bill or to get a bill passed or to get it amended that I learned when I was in law school, and that is still very applicable today. So that's my, offer to the community. This is something that bills are written and introduced all the time, and they often die on the vine, I guess is one way to put it, because of opposition at key points. So that's kind of where I stand, and I think maybe it's because I served as a staffer in the State Senate, but these bills are not going anywhere yet, from my perspective. The other point, though, that I think was lost, because I needed to make sure, both of these bills do state that vaccines need to be FDA approved, and I think at one point back in December, that was one of the points of opposition. These vaccines are not FDA approved. How can we be giving it to children? These bills, even if they did pass, state that whatever vaccine is being discussed needs to be FDA approved. The American Association of Pediatricians needs to approve it, and the CDC needs to approve it. So again, I'm just thinking in terms of successfully lobbying for or stopping a bill, both of which I have experience doing, it's still a little bit early, in my opinion. Thanks.
You know?
Yeah, so So, Trustee Myers brought up a good point, and that's why I was like, I had to jot that down. So I'm probably gonna start off with that, but I'll share a little bit of what Trustee Takur also shared. But, so, for me, as a board trustee, we're here to, right, we're here for our students. And as a trustee member, I believe my role is, to create and develop policy. To me, the resolution is not a policy, right? It's not a policy. It is what Trustee Myers was saying, right? You know, a resolution, you know, for, you know, Nurses Week, things like that. It does, to me, the resolution doesn't have any like teeth behind it to say that, in a sense, it'll be a policy at the district level. So that was like one of the key points. I was like, wait a minute. It just popped into my head, and I wanted to jot that down before it went away, by thinking about some other thoughts as well too, and jotting other notes down. So to me, that's what I was going to start off with. Is, to me, the resolution's not a policy. So us as me as a trustee member, I believe we're here to develop policy if we need to at any point given time, right? And we're here to provide oversight for all our parents, teachers, students, and staff, in that manner as well too. So whatever we do on that end, to me, that's why that I didn't want to lose that train of thought. Now, to piggyback on some thoughts or some comments that Trustee Takur brought up. So I was looking up the legislative calendar. Again, I love policy. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a trustee member, is because I do love policy. I do love hearing from the community and how we can adapt that to our specific you know, district here in Fullerton. So I started looking up the calendar, and May looks like it's, to Takur's point, is kind of the deadline, right, for a lot of these bills to pass through. I don't know too much about it, but he spoke a little more specifically on where the bills are currently at, and I don't know where the bills are currently at, but I did want to look at the legislative calendar, that May 27th is the day that these bills need to pass their appropriate housing, right? They got to come out of that to even have a chance. So I think we are jumping the gun a little bit in that sense, but I did want to encourage again the community to maybe follow up with one of the co-authors, Senator Newman, to see where the bills are at. You know, talk to his representative and see where things are going in that sense. And I'd be also more than happy to help with that. Help you guys connect with either his field rep or himself, and just to see and get an update on that. But for me, I think one of the key points was, again, the resolution's not, to me, it's not a policy, and I think that's, as trustee members, or as a trustee, it would be here to be developing policy to help what we've been hearing. I think the letter was good, so I do want to thank you know, Dr. Pletka for that, and then again, making sure that we're being heard as a community from that. So yeah, that's my thoughts there.
Thank you. Okay, you know, this is a hard one, because again, I'm not a medical expert, and I'm not going to even talk about, you know, the pros and cons and what it does and what it doesn't do. I think that I believe that parents feel the way they feel, and if they're feeling like they're protecting their children, they're going to do everything they can to protect their children. And I think that's what's happening. I think that those that don't want to vaccinate their children, and when you look at who's not vaccinating their children, and it would be interesting to see, you know, even at our district level, what though, you know, we don't track that because that's not something that we're able to track for HIPAA laws and such, but be interesting to see which communities are not being vaccinated, and why they're not being vaccinated, because again, if this passes and we're talking about a mandated vaccination, I think, you know, Senator Pan, the reason why he's proposing this is because when you make a mandate like that, then it's going to force people to do it, and they're going to have his sense of the community, you know, having enough people vaccinated in order to stop it. And so he feels, and I don't think you're going to change Senator Pan's, Dr. Pan's opinion on why he wants this bill and why he feels as strongly about the bill as people feel against the bill. And I think that's what's happening, is that people feel one way or another. What I look at is, what is that going to do to the children that are in the households where their families believe that they shouldn't be vaccinated? And it's the children that are going to suffer, is what I think. And when I look at that depresses me, because that's where our kids aren't getting their education, and it's because, you know, they're coming from an environment that their families believe that. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. There's no judgment. This is what's going to happen. I am like you, Janny, and I think we've always talked about the resolution process, and I don't like passing resolutions because I don't think they mean anything, to be quite honest with you. I also don't think, and we're going to be honest here, I don't think that anything we say is going to change anybody's mind on how they're going to vote on this. This group here, I don't believe what they tell you, that our voices mean something, because I don't think they do. And if they're listening, good. I don't think our legislature or our legislative reps, our senators, our assembly people are going to listen to us as Fullerton School District Board. I don't believe that. I believe they're going to listen to 180 people who you got to talk to the other day that are lining up on their front yard, or not front yard, their office, and saying, we want to talk to you. I just said, not our front yard. Don't do the front yard, because then they're going to be back at my house. No, it's, respectful again. There's a process. I think they're going to listen to 180 people that vote for them more than they're going to listen to 5 people up here saying something. And that's my honest opinion. And I've been around legislatively for a while. I've made those visits. I've orchestrated visits with people from Orange County to go talk. I mean, I do this every year with PTA. I go up there and speak on behalf of millions of children in California, right? That's what makes a difference. It's when you're representing 180 people as opposed to 5 people who are elected. I know it sounds great, but personally, based on my experience, I don't think our voices are going to be louder than your voices. I think your voices are going to be louder than my voice. And I'm not pushing the can down the road. I'm being very honest that we can talk till we're blue in the face. He can go and have a conversation with the co-writer of the bill, right? And say, hey, this is what we're thinking and this is what we're hearing. I think it's up to us to communicate what we're hearing, right? That's my job, is to represent you guys and say, this is what is happening. This is what this bill means to the people in our community, to our parents in our community. And I think that's what we can do. I think definitely speaking what's happening, because again, you're not speaking for all the parents in our district, so I can't go to them and say, all the parents in my district feel this way. I can't say that with a good heart, because that's not all my parents. Because just as many people that are here are probably not here because they don't feel a need, right? Because they feel the other way. Again, it's that divisiveness. It's that, okay, you have a group here, you have a group here, but this board believes in parent choice. And I think this board believes in communicating what we know to be true. And what I know to be true is there are people in this room right now, and 100, however many are out there, that truly feel like this vaccination is not something that they're willing to put their children through, right? Because you feel that in your heart. And I get that. But putting a resolution and signing it is great, and we say it, and we've had this discussion about resolutions before, because maybe I'm jaded, and I really do think this is half full and not half empty. But I'm a realist. I'm trying to be realistic and come up with a solution to a problem that we have that I think might work, as opposed to, I think writing a letter of solidarity like we did, saying this is what we need, and maybe that's something we consider is writing that letter as a board. You know, we're gonna say, this is what's going on, this is what I can attest to, this is what we see. This is what we're hearing from our population, from people in our community, right? And I could get behind saying something like that, so that at least, because I'm also a proponent of, you don't know what you don't know unless someone tells you, right? And so our legislators need to know what we know, because that's our job. We're here, we get this information, we should be communicating that on. And I think that's something we can definitely, and we have an obligation to do that. This is what we're hearing, and this is what's happening, and you need to know that, so then when you go vote, that you understand that, right? And for all those people, don't stop talking. I mean, and I know you're not, and I know you guys are doing that. And I wish I could say that I believed that me having a conversation with my friends that are legislators, that they're gonna think any differently. Because when you get up there in the House, you're thinking different things, you know, and then it becomes all about, you know, why you have to do what you have to do, and I think it gets a little political. And I hate politics, and I sit up here at this table because I feel that my voice, that I have a voice for our kids and for our community. I don't do this because I'm, so to speak, a politician. I hate running for election. I hate the election process. I do feel comfortable being up here and saying that I want to speak on behalf of knowing what we hear now, and as a board member, I could stand behind that. I don't want to get into the resolution where it says, you know, this, you know, this about the vaccine, this about this, because I'm not a health expert. And for whatever I say there, someone can counter, you know, someone could say something way different, right? It's whatever spin you put on it. But maybe as a group of people that are elected to be here, that maybe we do say, you know, we're willing to take a step and specifically spell out a bill and say, these are the bills that are concerning people, this is why it's concerning them, this is what we're hearing. So when you go to make your vote, this is the information you need. When we talk about the Judiciary Committee, we have a couple local politicians that are on that committee. They meet, I think it's the 29th of April is their next meeting, and these bills are not even on their agenda. They're not on their agenda. They're not even on their May agenda. If you look at their May agenda, it has like 7 items on it right now. It's not on there either. So these, I think they are, like you're saying, you know, it's politics. They're gonna delay these as long as they can. I look at California State PTA, who's been taking, you know, they are an advocacy group, right? We're not an advocacy group up here. We're here to help educate your children. And we're here to, like you said, Lionel, to help with the policies of the district and educating kids. And that's what we need to be spending our time on. Those things that you had talked about earlier. We need to talk about social emotional health. We need to see where our test scores are. We need to be concentrating as a group up here on how we're gonna get those kids to be able to read, right? And I know this has something to do with it, but when we start talking about writing resolutions and supporting bills and opposing bills, we're then getting into advocacy, and I worry about that. I also start to say, well, then why aren't we advocating for all these 3 funding bills that are on here? I could tell you how many bills I'm tracking right now. I track bills because I'm interested, but we can't spend our time up here talking about every bill that's out there, because that's not our purpose here. You know, and that's how I feel. I feel like my job is to set, you know, we've set policy, we have board goals, you know, and advocacy is not one of those. But I could see why you're advocating for us to advocate, because everything indirectly will hit our kids. We talk about offering, you know, vegetarian options for our students at lunchtime. That's a bill that's out there. We have 3 major funding bills that could make a huge difference in how we get money, right? So there's all those bills that are out there that are important to other people. Different people have different things. And so I don't want to get into the business of picking and choosing which bills are most important to be able to advocate for. But this one has struck a nerve in our community, and I think it's up to me to make sure that those that vote for it know what kind of nerve it took, or what it's striking, and what our community that has spoken, what they feel. And for us to communicate that in case they don't know. They know.
Just a pragmatic piece. as someone who wrote the letter and spent probably 8 or 9 hours writing from your own voice, proposes its own challenges, but writing for the voice of 5 different people to build consensus so that every word and every sentence and every fragment represents everybody here, is a special opportunity. And
So if we were to individually write our own letters, that probably would be much easier for you.
so, but I believe the power of the letter is that 5 of you agreed to it. 5 of you selected words that you all believed in that also represented our community. And so at a pragmatic level, a letter that represents the whole board, 5 people, is more powerful than a resolution, even if it was 3-2 or 2-3. So I think the power is, when I went to speak with Josh, it was to say, this is what the board believes, and they all stood behind it, and they all voted on it. So just something to consider, instead of trying maybe dividing the board on an issue, which then diminishes the credibility of our voice. There's more power in staying true to something you've done. Now, what we've already done is we did go to the legislative portal, and we did upload the letter specifically to 871. So as a compromise position that represented the whole board, you could have that same letter that you all agreed to already, that represents you, simply upload that to the 866 portal as well.
I would be willing to take that letter and just tweak it a little, just so that it's not,
What does it say, the governor, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna ask, the letter that we submitted, did it come from the board, or just did it come from the district that you?
No, it was your.
It was.
It's your language,
remember-
your words.
But
I
we
did
did
take,
not
I
sign
did
it,
take out the
we
word
signed.
governor when I uploaded it, and it was specifically targeted to that. It was 871.
So it was on behalf of,
On behalf of
our
us.
board, but with his signature.
His signature, that's
You know,
maybe,
maybe you know, 5 other signatures on it. You know, I would be willing to do something like that without having you, I mean, again, you know, you're the district, we're the board. You know, we've been elected to be up here, and so at this stage, this is our discussion, and if we decide that we want to write a letter with our signatures on it, we can do that. It doesn't have to come from you. I don't need your 9 hours. I need your 9 hours somewhere else, not doing this. I mean, I think that your time is better spent educating our kids, I think. I think that if we're willing, if we agree to do something like that, that should be something that we do on behalf of our own governing board. I mean, that would be my opinion, that's only my opinion, not everybody's opinion, but. What else was on my little notes that I was gonna say? I mean, I think you just start to, you know, when you start to look at both the bills, you start to pick at things. You know, there are other things a 12-year-old can, there are other things minors can do that you might not agree with, that are in code right now, you know? And you start bringing that stuff up, it's nothing new. I mean, this is something that there's already things they can do without parent permission that happen. You know, those are bigger things. I mean, that's definitely something that, you know, adding this vaccination to the list of vaccinations that's there. It's, you know, we're already asking for certain vaccinations, or just adding this one. I mean, I think that this is worthy of communicating. That's just my opinion. Lionel, you have something?
Well, without you doing too much extra with that, can you tweak it and then at least include both bills? I think that's important. Personally, I'd like to see us as a board united, all our names on the, rather than my board, but only if we are united. I think that that's a critical piece of a letter, that it's all of us, and we are without one board member tonight.
Well, and that's why we're not voting on anything right now. It's what do we collectively would we like to bring it? I mean, and like I said, I don't mind taking the letter that you wrote, that we have submitted already, spending some time with it, passing it out, you know, to our board members at the next meeting and having them look at it, if that's something that they want to do. But again, it's got to be something that everybody wants to do and can feel comfortable with.
Well, and I appreciate, Aruni, all your remarks, and actually, it's sort of lifting to know that maybe it's not going to happen. But I don't,
think they're right.
I kind of feel like when you say it's a little too early, I don't think it's ever too early to advocate for something that you want. Christmas.
Yeah. No, it was just interesting. So, I mean, I had already pulled up the bill, 871, and there's already tons of edits made to that bill already. And it hasn't really gained any traction. And then to see that there's already tons of edits done to it, I mean, even when it gets to the committees, that's when they dissect it and they just pick it apart. And usually they come back as new bills. So, I mean, always keep an eye out for that as well too. They're just because they say 871 is dead, it can revive as something else. So, I'm just learning a little bit more about this. So,
And I think your voice is making, I will say this to the public, I think that your voice is making an impact, because I talked to our congresswoman last night and she says, oh yeah, I know about it. So I think that's good.
no, and definitely to
Should we?
to President Berryman's.
Can we go on 10 more minutes, or 5 more minutes? Are you
5
guys
more.
okay?
Yeah. To Berryman's point, your guys' voice is a lot louder than us five, definitely. So don't take that like lightly as well either. So really utilize the power that you guys have all built, and talking to those elected officials as well too, that are a little closer to the decision-making process of these bills. I think we've talked about this even in the past. Even with like the mask mandate and things like that, state bills or the laws supersede anything that we would even develop or create here locally. So just, even though it doesn't, but again, just know that we're standing with you all. So I would also consider adding my name to a letter as well too, the one that we had already submitted in the past, and just taking a look at that. I know we are short one trustee. Sugarman's not here. No, but I'm just commenting that I would,
Well, and to know that there's a couple of people that's worthy of discussing it again. So it's not dead in the world. And before, I'd like to say that the community resonated with me, because that's why I wrote the letter. And that's why I've spent hours in studying this and talking to people. It's because of what you've done at the board meetings. So it works.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, two of you are willing to put something out there to vote on. Would we need to vote on just signing a letter if it's not coming as a resolution or something from? We're not asking you to do something? Could technically?
I mean, my suggestion is the letter represents your viewpoints
Yes.
collectively.
Yes.
I know each of you also have additional viewpoints.
Yes.
So instead of trying to recraft a letter where all 5 of you line up, it did that.
Right.
Based
No,
on the argument.
we're gonna take that letter.
My suggestion is simply look at the letter. I mean, there's certain things that are, that's
Okay.
geared towards a
Okay.
different purpose. Simply take the letter, use the same words, rewrite it for the context, which I can submit. At that point, if you're all happy with it, I would not make any substantive changes other than to redraft. Again, we'll remove the word governor because it's on a legislative portal, and then if you are okay with it, then you could all sign it. I wouldn't even necessarily need to bring it back to the next board meeting, because at that point, again, it's the letter that you all agreed to in the first place. So you don't need to rewrite it, and you don't need to bring it back. I can send it back to you and you can sign it.
So it's just an extension of our first directive.
Yeah.
So instead of having to bring it to the next meeting, so instead of prolonging it,
Right.
and it
We
won't
can
take you very long, you'll tweak it and then send it to us. We'll submit our comments to you as opposed to each other, so we're not having any more discussions about this.
And then
And
we just
then-
send it out. And I know there's a sense of urgency, so we can get that sent out here in the next week or
So
two.
it's just.
And
a
it will have
direct-
both bills?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we did, by the way, I submitted your letter already
Right.
to 871.
So we're just, I'm still confused because I feel like we're giving you direction where we don't have it on our agenda to direct.
At this point, you've already authorized
Okay.
the letter.
All right.
You already voted
guys-
on the letter.
Okay, yeah.
At this point,
Okay,
you're basically signing the letter that you already agreed to.
okay. All right, thank you. You'll send it to us so that we can look and edit. Okay, all right. Okay, anybody have anything else to add to this conversation?
I do have a copy of the letter if anybody wants it.
Are you okay with this? Oh. Okay. Okay, all right. All right, I was only a little late. Tell my kids were with curfew too. Oh, is it really that time? Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay. We're moving on to number 12, where we've got a lot of contracts and we have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Do you guys want to do a bio break? Are you guys okay?
Do you need to? No, we're fine. I haven't drinking all my water, so, oh, sorry, let's go.
Okay, first item this evening is item A under discussion action, which is our board policy 3260. This is the second reading and considered for approval of the board policy on fees and charges. There were no changes made from the first reading on this item.
Is there a motion to approve Board Policy 3260?
I move to approve Board Policy 3260.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Board Policy 3260, fee and charges. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
The next item is item B, which is approved board policy 5148. This is a board policy that would be a new policy that was presented at the last meeting for first reading. It's on childcare and development. There were no changes made to this item from the first reading.
all right.
I move to approve Board Policy 5148.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We approve Board Policy 5148, Child Care Development. Any comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
The third item is item C, which is board policy 5148.3, which was presented at the last meeting on preschool early childhood education. This item is also a new board policy, and there were no changes made from the first reading at the last meeting.
Means you guys did such a great job.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve Board Policy 5148.3.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and we approve Board Policy 5148.3, preschool early childhood education. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No? Okay. It's your night, isn't it?
Yes, for at least the next two items. So the next item is approving amendments to the assistant superintendent contracts for the 2021-2022 school year. There are two changes. One is providing the 3% salary increase that was provided to all other negotiated groups, which is found, the salary is found on the salary schedule, which is located on our website. And the second part is to extend the assistant superintendent's contracts one additional year.
Okay. All right. Anyone?
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendments to the assistant superintendent's contracts for 2021, 2022. Any comments? I just want to say how much we appreciate our assistant superintendents for all of their hard work, especially in years that we have just had. This is a team, and we're only as strong as what our team and what you guys do for our kids. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you guys every day for coming in and and my phone doesn't ring. So you guys are doing phenomenal jobs, from, you know, everything to making this work, to making the lights work, to making everything happen, and motivating your staffs to continue to do their best work and feel good, I think makes a huge difference in what we do. So wholeheartedly agree with this. So thank you. All right. All right. Any other comments? Okay.
Save some comments for when we do the other two.
Okay. So shut up. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Thank you.
Item E is to approve the 7th contract amendment of the board-approved contract for the district superintendent. This item, like the previous item, provides for the 3% salary increase for the superintendent, as the salary is listed on the superintendent's salary schedule on our website. Additionally, it extends the superintendent's contract for 1 additional year.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the seventh contract amendment. Been here that long?
10 years.
Wow. 7th contract amendment of board-approved contract for the district superintendent. Do I have comments? Anybody?
I'm gonna do it at the end.
At the
Okay.
end.
All right, I am gonna say, Dr. Pletka, thank you for everything. I know it seems like you've been here for 10 years and 20 years, and proud to extend your contract, keeping you in for a little bit longer so that you're not gonna run away from us. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And for item F, we will turn that over to Dr. Pletka.
It's been a last 3 years, I think some of the hardest professional times, I think, for all of us, for teachers, for classified employees, for everybody. And as a result of the pandemic, I think in the beginning, the first 3 months, if you remember one late evening, we met in March.
March 13th.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Was it the 13th? Of
think it
course
was
it was.
Friday the 13th.
And we thought it was going to last 2 weeks. And
Couldn't believe it.
after the 2 weeks, we were hoping that maybe just a month or two, and then it extended, the pandemic extended, and it was around June where we were really talking about, are we going to open again? And I'm first of all very grateful to all of the assistant soups on that day. We were going to at least give the board like the option that if this is something that the board wanted and our community wanted, that we would be able to be ready to be able to offer it in some form. And appreciate the long hours that the entire cabinet put together. And by the way, we weren't the only ones. Again, a big shout out to the entire team here, both our teachers, CSEA, and our management team across the board that came together. But I think every few months I kept thinking it was going to go away, and a little bit later it was going to go away. And so what happened is, initially that first year, I think cabinet, beyond their calendar work year, were working 15, 20 additional days just in that first year of 20. And then 2021 happened, and I think I shared at one point, Chad had worked 40 plus days in a row. And we kept thinking, well, it's going to go away. He's going to one day have a break. One day he'd be able to see his family again. And then the next year, in 2021, in the beginning of the summer, I remember thinking, well, this will be the year that things return back to normal. And with each time, I asked cabinet, and I specifically asked Chad and Julian to work hours well beyond their contract year, and to do things that actually were never a part of their job duties. Chad is actually the assistant soup of human resources, but he now is like the health czar for our entire district. And just what does that mean? Well, I remember out of the last 4 Thanksgivings, Chad was working and Julian working on Thanksgiving Day to deal with the contact tracing and COVID. And I remember on New Year's Day contacting both of them to work to help with the things that needed. I remember Christmas Eve calling Chad to work. And in each case, he was doing something above and beyond. And I remember Julian, tragically, we had a student die this last year. And Julian led a team of people to help bring support to a school and to families that needed it. And each time I kept thinking, it's going to go away. It's going to be different. And I remember one time calling Chad on a Sunday after he had worked 6 days straight and had been working 12 to 16 hours a day. And I felt bad because he was out with his wife. And I said, I need you. And we need to do this contact tracing. And he said, you know, I'm going to finish my lunch. And I'll be right there. And that's the sort of team I have. And those are the sort of people that the whole cabinet, but I do want to honor the work that Chad and Julian did. And it's not in their job description, and it's not on their day. And so after 2 years, Chad and Julian have worked 72 additional days beyond their contract year. And not once did they ask for more money. And their contract actually, they could ask for 70 days. And so to recognize the work that they're doing, to recognize the changes in their job description, to recognize the additional days. And their contract actually is going to add days to what we need them to do. And they agreed to do that. And the organization needs someone to be on call. The emergencies don't seem to be going away. And the crisis, I went 8 years without a single student dying here. And sadly to say, while it did not happen on campus and it did not occur here in our district, we have had 2 children pass away and the impact that that has had. And pandemic, while we haven't had any student die, we haven't had any staff member die related to the pandemic, we have had, last year we had 5 staff for a variety of causes to pass. By the way, we would go years without having a staff member pass. I don't know why. I don't even know how. But the nature of the work has changed, and it's changed dramatically for Chad and for Julian. And whenever I called Chad this morning. I texted him at 5:30 because I needed to meet with someone at 6, and he answered my text. And last night at 9:04, I texted Julian on some work we were doing, and they answer my text. And it's not just a matter that they work longer. It's not just the matter that they are on call 365 days, and on Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve and on New Year's Day, that they answer my calls and take care of business. But it's also the nature of the work has changed. And it is deeply personal because through it all, I've had a whole team, everybody here, out there. But today, I want to thank and recognize 2 people that we would not have been able to do what we've done without. In our district, what it requires now to lead is different, and these 2 positions, these associate soups, are needed. And so in addition to the district needing, I did want to take a moment to recognize them and to thank them and to appreciate what they've done for our district and for our children and our community. And wanted to take the opportunity to thank them. and their families, and people like Stephen and Wendy that have also sacrificed a tremendous amount. So I propose these 2 new positions, and for a 3-year term period, and so I'll leave it up to you.
Want me to just move to approve it?
Yes, please.
I move to approve these new positions and extensions.
I'll second.
I'll third.
Okay, it's been moved and approved to approve the job descriptions for the associate superintendent. Now, does anyone want to speak to that? No one wants to follow that.
No, Dr. Pletka made it pretty hard to follow, so. Aye.
Oh, anyone want to say anything? Ditto.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you cry. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No.
I won't be able to get words out.
Okay. All right. Oh, sorry.
One more.
Are you doing this next one too?
I guess, what am I doing?
G. Looking at G, Bob, come on.
Disappointing.
G, approving and ratifying appointments to the associate super, okay,
Yes.
so we are approving and ratifying appointments to the associate superintendent. Do you want to speak on that at all? Or are no words needed at this point, because I think you probably have discussed that you're good, okay. So now I can, did somebody move this one yet?
No, I'll move to
thank you.
approve or ratify the appointments to associate superintendent.
I'll
Okay.
second.
G.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
I did want to just take
Yeah.
my moment here for all
Please
of
do.
our associate superintendents, assistant superintendents. It's an honor to be able to vote for these. Just everything about the school district. So, obviously I grew up in the district, but you don't see any of this. And then I think even parents maybe don't see as much. But from this perspective, from this very special seat here, getting to see what you all are doing has just, it's been, when I'm here, I don't think about anything else, because it's really a pure joy to be up here and get to see the amazing things that are happening in Fullerton. But more importantly, the way that you all interact and what you bring to all of our lives as a parent, the enrichment, watching my kids just come home from school, different activities, so much excitement for the future. And so it's just such a no-brainer, and thank you for everything that you do. Thanks for the opportunity to get to do something like this, to recognize and honor. I was thinking human resources, maybe we could change the title to most resourceful human. I don't know, just a thought. Anyway, thank you all very much. From the bottom of my heart, from my family, really on behalf of my parents too, just, there were people doing these jobs before you got here, there will be people after you, but whoever's after you is just gonna have a terrible job trying to match what I've seen. Thank you.
You guys do a phenomenal job. Again, this team works so well together, at least from what I'm sure you guys bicker every once in a while, but for people to understand that, to run a district, that these individuals, these 5 individuals spend a lot of time together, and they have to collaborate on most everything that's being done. And I think that you guys pull together everybody, and you bring out the best in each other for our kids. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate all the time and effort that you guys spend and everything that you do, from auctioning at a Fullerton Educational Foundation event to being the MC for our Fullerton Fest, to calling everybody and telling them that they have to go into quarantine for a while, and then doing everything else. Okay, so on that note, all those in favor of approving and ratifying appointments to the associate superintendent positions, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, with that said, we got a lot of business done, a lot of stuff happening tonight. On that note, we're at board member requests for future items. We got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm sure that there's been items that we've asked for that are in the queue. DEI, SEL, all those acronyms, right?
Yeah, the
the
ones that are,
meat.
we have LCAP coming up, the dual immersion, a social emotional, and as it relates to LCAP as well. We have iReady data, but really the focus will be on interventions and it'll be focused on early literacy. We'll be sharing about that. The DEI committee, they're gonna share. So those are the ones that are already in the queue, and that doesn't even count some of the routine business.
In addition to the summer programs and all of the additional summer stuff that's going on? Okay, all right.
Can I ask on the social emotional, can you provide us an update of what we're seeing across the board
for
from
sure.
different schools? And so
And
not
some of the
just,
results too.
yeah, so not just like anything related to LCAP, but just more what we're seeing out in the community and what we're feeling from, from various schools or just across the board in a sense. So it doesn't have to be real specific, but just in general, what are we seeing out there as it relates to social and emotional
What's the
learning?
climate?
Yeah, just an update, just to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I don't think I need to ask for an update to May revise and the budget.
No,
everything,
no,
right?
you don't.
That's gonna be
coming-
automatic.
Yep, yep.
Yes.
And the budget will be here in June. So, okay, all right. With that said, we got a lot that you guys are doing. Batten down take your vitamins now. And our next meeting is April 26th. On that note, we will adjourn.